I'm Kelsey Timmerman. Today on The Facing Project, we share the stories and music of singer-songwriter Cliff Ritchey. Cliff gathers inspiration from his global travels and the simple country life he lives in Markleville, Indiana, where gravel roads, sunsets, and stillness seep into his melodies. Through his songwriting, he seeks to connect with the listeners on a deeper, more vulnerable level, exploring themes of love, longing, loss, and home. Cliff's song Honey Baby won first place in the Chris Austin Songwriting Competition at Merlefest and third place in the International Songwriting Competition, where judges included Tom Waits, Lord, Ziggy Marley, and others. His songs are deeply personal, yet universal, and have a way of saying what you didn't know you needed to hear. He's also served as a touring guitarist for John McLaughlin, Josh Kaufman, winner of The Voice Season 6, and Latin pop star Jackie Velasquez. Off stage, Cliff brings the same sense of beauty and observation to his work as a commercial photographer. Today, Cliff shares his songs and the stories behind them. Stay with us. I'm Kelsey Timmerman, and you are listening to The Facing Project. That's singer-songwriter Cliff Ritchey. Cliff has a new record coming out, The Long Haul. Cliff's here with his guitar and a few stories and songs to share. Cliff, welcome to The Facing Project.
Thanks, Kels.
So, Cliff, a few years back, you traveled with me to the mountains of Northern Colombia when I was working on my latest book project. What were you thinking?
Oh, man. I was just up for an adventure. I mean, I remember our talks in the coffee shop, and I just remember thinking, oh, I got to get on this trip somehow. And I think what I loved, too, was I think you know, the way you roll and the way you do your things. I mean, it was felt like it was a compliment that you were like, not everybody would do this, or like the way that I do this, but I think you'll be okay.
I don't know where we're going to sleep. I don't know what we're going to eat, but it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. It's going to be an adventure. I'm always up for an adventure, for sure.
Yeah. So your role was to take photos.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, what was the experience like for you up in those mountains and trying to take photos?
Oh, man. Well, it's like there's different layers to it. I mean, one was just the beauty of Colombia is just like breathtaking. It felt like everywhere was a photo opportunity. The people that we were with were just as beautiful. And it felt like everybody, you know, there was a photo everywhere I looked. So yeah, to some degree it was just awe and inspiring, and just it's such a unique, like, I feel like we see the same things here every day, and to be in Colombia with the Arhuaco and just the tribe and just like the way that they live their life, everything from just what they wear to how they look and how their food is different and just their way of being is just so different. I mean, to me, it was just like, it was one of the more exciting photography experiences and just overall life experiences, honestly, that I've had.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we were going to be looking at like their farming practices, and they sat us down multiple times in kind of like these meditations and had us ask questions of ourselves,
right?
Kind of silently, right?
Yeah, that was amazing. It was like, to some degree, it was like I had no idea that was going to happen. I mean, when someone says we need to ask permission before we get to shoot photos or whatever, to me that, you know, I was kind of expecting, hey, do you guys care if we take your photo?
Yeah, we have a permission slip right here. Just
Could
sign
you sign it.
Right?
And that's not what they meant. What they meant was we needed to ask the mountains, and we needed to ask, permission in a deeper sense. And, you know, couldn't have been any better. I mean, to me, I remember at one point just being like, oh yeah, here's the magic of it. You know, I feel like I go places sometimes and I kind of expect one thing, and then it just becomes this magical experience. And, I just feel like that was, you know, one of the experiences that I sort of have an internal sense to when I know a trip is going to be unique and maybe even on a deeper spiritual, you know, level. And that's just exactly what it was.
Yeah. So we got permission finally after days. You still really hadn't taken many photographs because you weren't allowed to, right?
Yeah.
And so then we take an SUV up to visit this like higher up Mama, which is their spiritual leader, and the SUV stops and a donkey rolls up.
A kid with a donkey. Yeah, that was, I mean, it's exactly what it was. Yeah.
And so we make our way up to this mama named Ananias, his home, and still no photos there.
Yeah. Well, that was what was hard. It was like, I think because in the very beginning, when we were with Miguel and Freddie, I was granted permission during that time. You know, it's like we had the time and the talks and they said it was okay for me to take photos. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're driving, I'm on our hike, I'm like taking photos of everything and, you know, and just feel somewhat accepted. And I think on that time, that was when Miguel at some point said, Cliff, you are a Waco, you know?
Yeah. Because our Waco have like long hair flowing from these hats and Cliff has like long curly hair flowing from these hats and kind of lives the Arhuaco lifestyle.
I felt definitely
a little bit like spiritually and maybe dress wise. You weren't wearing a tunic, but
I feel like I look more like the Arhuaco, like, you know, when they're not necessarily in their traditional wear.
Yeah.
Like when they just like walk around and you'd see these Arhuaco, like I look more like them than I do anybody here in the States, or at least in my area. So it definitely felt kindred spirit. But then, to get up there and then it was another, I was like, okay, wait, I'm not allowed to take photos now. And so that was, and then of course we hiked down that little hill. Well, I mean, not little, it was pretty steep. I mean, it was like a seriously steep grade. And then the reeds in the sun, and I'm just looking at you, and I'm not allowed to take this photo. That was so hard. Yeah,
it was a beautiful photo of Ananias was standing in this kind of what was really kind of a food forest, but I didn't really see it as that at first, next to the stream, which you couldn't see, even though it was just like 5 feet away or something like that. And then Ananias is backlit, and it's just like this gorgeous shot, which you later drew.
I did.
Yeah, I drew a picture of that.
I thought about that the other day when I was reading the book again, and I was like, oh, I probably should have found that and given it to you. Although, then again, maybe that's just I was okay to draw because it was from memory, you know, because I didn't have permission. So maybe it was best just to be in our memories and, you know, in my journal.
Yeah. And so we're sharing all this to kind of work our way into like an experience that we had there. I had basically snuck a guitar in.
Was it pink?
Was it? I think it was a Barbie guitar. I don't know. Was it pink? It was kind of tiny.
I think it was pink. It was a kid's guitar.
Okay, it was like a little kid's guitar, and so snuck it onto that SUV. Maybe made its way onto the donkey, or I carried it, or you carried it. I can't remember.
I think you carried it.
But eventually, we made it. After we had this another like meditation session in the reeds with Ananias, we went back to his home, and then Cliff has this guitar. I'm like, Cliff, I think you should play this. And I think you were kind of like hesitant at first, like, oh man, I don't know. You brought this guitar. I don't know if we should bring this guitar, and kind of share a little bit about what happened.
Well, I think we spent that whole day, and I think they permitted me to take photographs of like the landscape, but it was just like nothing of their home or of the kids or the family. So I did get to take a little bit of photos of it. Was a really cool sunset that night, I remember. But in part of it was too, I was just sort of enjoying, sometimes to me, the camera is a bit of a distraction, you know, because I kind of like switch roles. I get into very analytical, very dialed in, you know, space in my head, and where that can take away from being present sometimes for me. So it was kind of enjoyable just to be with people that first night. And I remember the next morning I woke up, I don't remember what inspired it. I think I just saw a guitar. The little guitar was there, and I was in their little space there, their little home. And
so we slept in hammocks the night before. Oh, there was hammocks there, but we slept in a tent.
Yeah. I brought that tent.
Yeah, but you were in one of their homes, and you were starting noodling on the guitar.
I just started messing around playing the guitar, and all of a sudden this little girl's head pops up in the window, and then she comes in, and then I think her brother, he pops in, and then I just sang some songs for them. And then I don't remember how I was asked to play for
Ananias. Like eventually you were under a tree, and like everybody was there. Like
yeah, that was wild. And then I just remember thinking, okay, what song would make sense to them, even though I know they couldn't necessarily understand. But I think Miguel was able to translate that I have a song that I wrote that's literally about a mountain in Indonesia. The mountain is actually called Ponderman, and the locals call it the sleeping princess because it's kind of one of those formations where sometimes in nature you'll see a rock face or you'll see a mountain, and it just seems to be in the shape of something, and sometimes a person or person's face. And this particular mountain literally looks like a woman laying in the ground, and just like the shape of the way the trees kind of form and the way the mountain ridges, it looks like she's laying up, and you can see her feet and then her head. And and so I wrote this song is about the sleeping princess.
Yeah, so why don't we listen to a bit of that song, and then we'll discuss it a little bit more.
Sounds good.
How she got there, no one knows. The love was lost, the story told. She fell from the heavens to the ground. Now she sleeps through rain and snow, waiting for her prince to show. So she sleeps, she dreams. No one around her knows her pain. So she sleeps, she dreams, knowing that one day she'll love again. Sleeping princess dream.
So Cliff, the Arhuaco value song and dance, and they value creating things. I mean, they were always like weaving things. And, once you shared that song, it just seemed to unlock.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it just felt different after that song.
Yeah, it was like, I think partly even too, just knowing that I had that connection with nature, and that I think it was even just Miguel explaining what I was going to sing. And there's something about music that just like, and it could be that because they value it so much and because it's such a spiritual practice for them. And like, it literally is one of the Mamu's gifting is music, And so I did feel like, it did something unique. And then they invited me to shoot photos, and they wanted to take photos with us. And like, that was wild. I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, it just felt like something had lifted, and that we belonged there more. And I'm so glad I snuck that guitar on that donkey, right?
Yeah.
So like that song, though, is like deeply personal to you as well. Can you kind of explain like where that song came from?
So my now wife, Julie, before we were married, she was kind of traveling all over the world. She was in France for a while, and then she was in Indonesia for some time, and she was just kind of out in nature. And she's very artistic as well, and just really appreciates nature kind of in the same way. But she was out staring at this mountainside, and she was sketching in her little sketchbook what she was seeing there. And a local man came up to her, and he had mentioned that what she was looking at, the locals call the mountain the Sleeping Princess. And so she was really moved by that. And later on, she wrote a poem called She Sleeps, where she sort of likened herself. And at the time, she was on her own and kind of drifting a little bit and had gone through some very difficult experiences. And I think she sort of likened herself to the mountain as being a sleeping princess, and like that one day she would, perhaps be woken up, Whew, that gets deep, man.
Yeah.
And so I joke all the time when we started dating.
Along came a prince.
I joke that I was like, I got to use what I got. And so I really was falling in love with Jules, and I didn't want her to leave. And I was like, I had to pull out all the tricks that I had. So I wrote a song, about her poem and her experience there, and I called it The Sleeping Princess, and then and the rest is history.
So a lot of your songs are personal and are about your life and kind of autobiographical.
I would say, I think a lot. I mean, most of them are in some way a form. They're either directly about experience that I'm going through or pain or struggles, or they're metaphors, and even when I'm not trying to, it's weird listening sometimes to older songs, kind of like, oh, that's what I was singing about.
Back as a therapist, right? Here's what I was going through.
Yeah, right.
It
was very clear in the songs. If anybody really was paying attention, they probably could have heard.
So that was the first song you ever written for Jules?
I think so.
And do you remember like how she received that? Like, what was that like sharing that?
It was good.
Yeah.
I think she cried.
Yeah.
It was just, And then later on, then luckily she did stick around, and we actually got engaged. We flew to Indonesia, and her parents were there in Indonesia, living there for a while. And we met with her parents, and then we actually literally climbed Mount Ponderman, the Sleeping Princess, and we got engaged on the foot, like to the feet, like where the feet would be of the princess. So.
And did you sing that song there, and like birds sort of swirling around you?
It is funny that you say birds, but there were monkeys.
Oh.
There were monkeys in the trees, kind of like all surrounding, us. So we literally got engaged. In like the Mount Ponderman, like the hike is legit. Like, we're both kind of adventure athletes, and, back then especially I was in pretty good shape. But it was a grueling, gritty, straight up vertical hike.
Wow.
And it was just like, it was so dirty.
You're like, hey, if we survive going down this thing, would you marry me?
Yeah. It's funny. I did snap a couple pictures of us when we were up there, and it's hilarious because we're so dirty. We're like really dirty. And but yeah, we got engaged at the foot of a mountain with monkeys present. So
nice.
That's pretty cool.
So you've been writing and singing songs for nearly 3 decades now, often very personal songs. And so when you sit down to write a song, like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah. Oh man.
And like, are you tapping into yourself, or are you like trying to reach out to other people to find a connection? Like,
yeah, I think it's mostly going inward. I remember, I used to write a lot more, like when I was kind of traveling full time doing music. I used to write all the time. And I would just give myself some writing prompts here and there. But for the most part, I feel like it's more of a way of releasing things, or, journaling, very similar like a journal. A lot of it is just, I kind of just listen, and whatever starts, I feel like it really feels like it's just somebody else's songs, and they just sort of start happening. And I just kind of like, once it's going, I'm kind of one of those writers that when the thoughts are going, everything has to stop, and I have to get it down as quick as possible before it's gone. And so a lot of my songs end up being, the bulk of them written probably in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe an hour. Yeah. Of course, I would also say I lose track of time. I have no idea, actually.
You're in the zone, right? You're
could
in
have been
flow,
6 hours.
Right?
Yeah. My kids actually have joked. They have a face that they make, and it's really funny. They do a impression of me when I'm playing music, because it's like they're talking to me, but I'm like kind of staring off, and I can't really hear them, or I can't pull myself. It's like I can't pull myself out of it very easy, And so for me, writing is really, it's more of it's something that happens, and I go somewhere else for a while, and then I kind of come back,
Yeah. And so your family is completely aware of that and give you your space. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this magic happens in your bathroom, right? Is that correct?
There's just like a little corner in the bathroom that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I am a bit of an audio nerd too. So what I like about it is like the way the acoustic resonates in there. So I think, and I don't know, I often write in the corner of my bathroom. It's not glamorous at all. It just sounds good there. And for some reason there's good vibes there, like it's, who knew that a spiritual place could be in your bathroom, but
So here we are on this trip to this book, and for photos for the book. And we get back, and like, I'm the one that's supposed to like distill these experiences into something that makes sense of them all, right?
Yeah.
And before I've written anything, you basically send me a song.
Yeah.
Like, here's what this experience means, and you nailed it. Like, I think it actually helped me write that chapter of the book.
Yeah.
And so the song is called The Heartache of the World. And before we listen to it, like, can you set it up a little bit? Like, what's the meaning of that title?
Well, I mean, part of it is that the Arhuaco, they believe that they're the heart of the world and that their prayers are kind of affecting everything and us. And, you know, and you had mentioned that even in the book that their property line is kind of in the shape of an actual anatomical heart, like in that it's just kind of interesting that it looks like a heart, you know. And so, you know, obviously that was part of the inspiration, is they're the heart of the world and the spiritual. But I kind of felt like a bit of that it was, you know, that there's a little bit of a heartache, you know, from them. This is sort of for us, like, you know, maybe I just kind of imagine their heart hurting a little bit for us. And I remember them saying the world will be fine. The world's going to exist, but like, you know, like the way we're living is not sustainable.
Like humans might not exist, which is like, I mean, it's like depressing yet maybe hopeful.
It's like, we're not worried about the earth, but, you know, we're kind of worried about people. And so I just felt a little bit of that sense of like a kind of a heartache, you know, there. And so, and so that sort of inspired the song. And again, I was surprised, you know, when you put the book out, I was listening to it. It was interesting how much of what I wrote about the song was like, oh, wow, I didn't know these things. Like, I don't remember all the experiences so much now, you know, I can't remember all the conversations, but just listening to the song and then hearing what you wrote, you know, it was just like, wow, it sort of captured our time there pretty accurately, you know? So I don't know. It was just that song came again. It was like, I didn't really mean to write a song. I think Jules and I were going somewhere and she was still getting ready. And like, for some reason, the guitar just like called to me and, you know, I just picked it up and on that one, I was just staring out my back window. I think it was raining out and it just started happening. Yeah. And I just remember, I don't know, we maybe needed to get going sooner. And I was just like, it's got to get this out. And then I probably the rest of the night wrote the song. You get
the free pass, cancel all the plans, the song is coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's really is beautiful. Jules is so gracious with me in those ways. And the kids are really great with that too. Kind of when I'm in that space there, I mean, one of the many things that Jules is so kind about is she just like lets it be, and in a really beautiful way. She really wants to hear what's going to happen too, you know. And so I just kind of get going on there, and really the night is shot, you know. After it's just I'm gonna pull out my phone and be like, okay, wait, now here's the next. This is how it goes, you know.
And then I had to listen to that song for years before like the book finally came out.
Yeah.
But Cliff managed to capture this experience, what I did in probably 12,000 words. Cliff did it in a couple minutes. Yeah. So why don't we listen to a little bit of The Heartache of the World by Cliff Ritchey.
We sat barefoot in the presence and conversed with them a while. They'd asked our intentions without time. How'd we come to take the pictures or to sell a fairy tale? How'd we come to seek repentance for our crime? To ask permission to expound on what we find. And we'd pray for revival till it welled up in our chest. And we held a sprig of cotton in the palm of our hand. And we crawled up to the mountain till we'd run out of breath. She said, the world's gotta change, we must change first.
So, Cliff, when you listen to that song again, what does it make you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to it there, and you know, the hook of the song is, if the world's going to change, we must change first. And I guess I've always, you know, I feel like we kind of live in a day and age where we're just pointing fingers all the time and yelling, and it's like, it's just doesn't seem to be helpful for a lot of people. And I guess, you know, for me, the song it's a song that I need to hear for myself.
Yeah.
And that I need to change. And then hopefully through that change, perhaps inspire other people to do similar things. You know?
I also think about, you know, the Facing Project faces so many issues that we can like, oh, here's the problem. This is the problem. These people are the problem, or this institution is the problem, or this part of society is the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think this question of asking, well, what are you going to do about it?
That's right.
How are you going to get
Yeah.
engaged in this as well? So there's that self-reflection, like, how could I
Right.
like step in to make an impact in this thing or be part of the change
Yep.
that I want to see?
That's right.
So I love that about the song. So I'm in the Cliff Ritchey fan club. You know what I mean? Like, if you had like a Patreon, I'd sign up for it. And I have T-shirts, right? One so it has I actually think when I bought it, it had a hole in it, Cliff. So I don't know who I need to talk with about this, but
Talk to Jules. She does all the business stuff.
so it's really amazing to have like one of your best friends also be one of your favorite musicians, right? And then to have like you go with me some places and write songs about our time together to be listened to for like posterity's purposes. Like, that is absolutely so cool and so awesome. So thank you for like entertaining these ideas of me going these places and going with me, right? Because I know sometimes you were hungry and there was no food in sight. And sometimes we slept in shipping containers, right?
Yeah.
But we got these songs, right? And we can forget about those moments. So I want to talk a little bit about your musical career and like how you started writing music, and kind of what if your intent was in the beginning, kind of where were you going with that?
Yeah. I don't know that I had any like true intentions. It's funny. I was talking with Jules. Somebody had asked me like, how does it feel like, referring to the book and the songs and things. They're like, how does it feel to have like made it, like your dream come true? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't plan on getting here. Like it wasn't like, I didn't like set out early on and think I want to do these things or whatever. They just sort of happened to me, and I'd say even to some degree with the songwriting, it's really more of, it's like I need to do it. If I don't get it out, it's not good, and so there are a few things that I do in life that I feel like help my mental health, and one of them is writing songs.
Yeah.
And I really need to exercise. I need to be physical. It's just the thing that helps my mind settle down. And so with songwriting, it's like there's an engine inside there, and it's just sometimes it gets going. And if I sit down and write a song, especially if I'm feeling things or if I'm passionate about something, it really helps me kind of make sense of it. And it also just physically helps it just get out because it needs to be, just doesn't feel good to hold it in. So really for me, I started writing in high school, and part of it was, I just spent a lot of time by myself. I mean, I had some friends, but, I don't know. I always felt like I've kind of always lived on the outskirts, both physically, I feel really comfortable being out in the country, being a little bit away, but like, I can kind of dip in and out when I need to, of like culture and people. And I spend a lot of time in my mind, and that was really kind of where it all started, was just Friday nights when everybody was kind of hanging out and doing things. I was in my room writing a song, or I'd, go play the piano somewhere, and I get lost in a world. I don't know, I really enjoy that place. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to come back out of it, and time will go by.
Yeah. I've had the experience before writing where I'm like in it, but then like life makes you have to go take something to the post office or pick up the kids or whatever. And like, I am like 50% like present. Like I am.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that songwriting for you and playing guitar is something that you would do even if there was not like any money.
Yeah, well, right. There's not much anyways, but there's never been a whole lot of money, but no, it's like I have to. Yeah. And I always describe it to people like, it's like imagine being like hungry, like when you're really hungry, and then you get somewhere and like, oh man, you just like, oh, you're having like this great meal, and imagine that somebody takes it away from you, like midstream while you're eating. It'll be a horrible feeling, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's like what it is, breaking out of whatever place that I go, it's really hard.
Kind of rude.
It does.
Rude awakening.
I do have to.
The real world. No,
I have to fight my urges of being frustrated when anybody tries to enter into that space. I have to fight that. And over the years, like when the kids were little and they would come home, sometimes I would be playing, and and apparently they would be trying to get my attention, and as little kids would, and I couldn't hear them. And then eventually I was just like, okay, listen, when you get home, if you're talking to daddy and he can't hear you, just like, you have permission to put your hand on my guitar, you have permission to turn the amp off, and then I'll give me a second and I'll come to, I'll come out of it. And so, yeah, it's been a family kind of joke about where I go.
So you're at this deep place, like writing and music, and then you start to perform music and people start to notice. And what I've noticed about some of your songs, like, commercialization does come into your world about like, this is, people notice, but we would love to record you, Cliff, and albums and bands that you've been in. Like, what does that change the process at all? Were you ever afraid of like that level of when people were noticing you?
I mean, not really. I mean, I think I'm always present to like at a show, for example, like if I'm playing something and nobody's really paying attention, like that's like hard, that's hard because I'm like, it's kind of like, it's like I'm sort of like opening up sometimes a wounded place. And I'm like, it's like, imagine me telling you some of my deeper secrets and hard things. And sometimes your people are just talking or they're not really paying any attention, and it's okay because a lot of times they're not really there. They might be there to have wine and just kind of hang out, but that's harder to do. I have in-ears now, so I just kind of get into my own world. So it was harder when you could like hear physically people, just talking.
Did you ever break and say like, listen, you need to listen to this song? Have you ever like come close to that before?
No, not really. The only thing I've ever done is I had a song. What was the song? I had a song called Silence Fills the Room, maybe. I wrote Silence Fill the Room. Oh no, was that? No, it wasn't that one. It was a song called And I Wanted Your Attention. And I wanted your attention. I don't remember the title of that song. I wrote it a long time ago. And I remember one time people weren't paying attention, and it has this very slow, at the end, it's like a quirky song. It's this really pretty song that I sort of ruin at the end by making a joke. But it's like, the chorus is, and I wanted your attention. I just wanted to see you smile. I just wanted your attention for a while. And so I remember one time singing that song, and it was like a slow burn. I knew that nobody really wanted to hear it.
Like, I'm going to sing this one
I
bold.
sang it so loud.
Bold in italics, underlined.
That's exactly what it is. And then all of a sudden people like perked up, and they were like, whoa, what's he singing? I think I did that maybe one time. I haven't played that song in a really long time, but no, I just kind of feel like, I've just never really been that way. Again, I'm mostly just doing it for me. As long as my ears sound good, if I, have in-ears, as long as my mix sounds good, I can pretty much have a great time anytime. I mean, it's nice when people are listening, or I might have a quirky line in a song, and it's nice when somebody hears it and gets it and kind of laughs or something, or sometimes people relate in ways that are on the deeper levels, and they're having an emotional experience, especially if I play Sleeping Princess, or if I play some songs about the kids, that I've written, and we sort of share in like some of the hardship of the song, and that is a big part of it for me, is I do, as much as I'm a very internal processor, I do seek a deep connection with people, a deep connection. The surface level things I don't really understand them so much, but I really appreciate like a deep relationship in those ways. And just, again, just maybe sometimes I'm writing a song hoping that like it will help be a healing space for other people,
But first, the intent is first you're like looking into yourself,
for sure,
and just by processing life and what has happened to you,
correct,
then other people connect with that story in maybe some different ways, and that's like the magic of the music.
Absolutely.
Do you have any like examples of like someone coming up to you after?
You mean like a connection with the song?
Where they said, hey, how you played that song. And
I've had a couple heavy ones. There's I played a show. I played a show in Chicago, and it was like a house show, but it's like, a bunch of people would come, and it was my buddy's house, and I played the show and it was really sweet, and there was definitely some emotional. I played this song called Song for Merle Fest. It's Look Where We Are Now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people know it as. And that's just about redemption and healing, and just, it was like this moment in Merle Fest when Jules and I were standing on stage, and we were kind of looking out, and, you know, all this crazy stuff was happening. I'd won that songwriting competition, and we were playing in front of like 60,000 people, you know, and I was just remembering the time that Jules, when she was there years ago, the reason we went to Merle Fest, even, you know, like I didn't know anything. I would have never put myself in a songwriting competition. It was really, Jules was able to figure out how to do it. I don't have the patience for that kind of thing. And, you know, the reason she chose Merle Fest is because she'd been there before. And I guess she knew, maybe, I didn't know, but like, if you win, or if you were in the top 3, you were going to get to go to Merle Fest. And I think she was hoping, because the tickets are so expensive, I was like, we wouldn't afford to go there, especially at that time. And we were like, well, maybe if we win, we'll get to go to see Merle Fest. So that's literally why we put the song in we just kind of hoped to get to go. And so long story short, we get there. I quickly realized I don't really like songwriting competition. I didn't enjoy the process of being in a competition like that.
Yeah, it's not what songwriting is about, like to win. That's what it's for you. Yeah.
Well, it was mostly, I was just like, I was in a room with a bunch of people I didn't know, and there was no windows, and we were like stuck in this place. And it was just really, it was hard for me socially. So that we get there, I was like, we got to get out of here, Jules. And then of course we sang Honey Baby, and I was like, oh man, I'm afraid we might have won. And and then of course we did, and then we played the stage. It got better after I got out of that room. But we were on stage and we were singing these songs, and I was just thinking about what Jules was at. She was at Merle Fest like years before us, and she was there alone, and had a really, you know, her heart was in rough shape, and I was on the other end of the world, or end of the country, and I was in a similar kind of space, and we were like on this, and she didn't play music at the time. So it was like the juxtaposition between her being alone at this festival, sad, and her being like on stage in front of 60,000 people playing music from a guy who wrote a song about her. You know, it was this very, it was just like this beautiful moment that we both had on stage. We were driving back that night to the hotel, and I was like, Jules, I was like, this trip, you know, like, it's not about the song Honey Baby. It's about like, this what we felt tonight, the redemption story. And so then I later wrote the song for Merle Fest. So sorry, I'm getting really long winded about this, but so I played that song and I shared that story, and the guy Kevin, he called me the next day, and he was just saying, hey man, it was so good seeing you guys, and I just want to let you know that one of my neighbors came. And they didn't know this. They didn't know him very well, and he wasn't going to come. And then I don't remember why. Maybe he heard it. He was hearing music, and he just like kind of sheepishly came over, and he opened up to Kevin that like his wife has passed away, and like he was struggling with some really terrible life issues, and I think he was maybe even like struggling with suicidal thoughts. And he was just saying he was so glad that he came and heard some of the songs because they spoke to him at a deeper level, especially the song, that redemption song, and that life can be hard and impossible and be at the lowest point. And then, you know, a couple years later, things can happen and they can be really beautiful. And that's me and Jules' story.
That's awesome. In some of your songs, I sense that, I mean, it's not like a sense, it's literally in the songs that there's a bit of like pressure on you to write a song that's going to reach people. And maybe that's reach a number of ears, or maybe that's just to reach like the hearts and minds of a couple people. I think one of them is Gonna Find a Melody. And then one's your latest song, Tennessee Whiskey. Like, what's behind that pressure?
Well, and it's like, I think one of the things that are hard, it's probably like at a deeper level, it's like probably the pressure I have just to even just sort of like connect with people, like in a general sense, you know, like I just feel like there's some things missing sometimes. I can connect with some people, but not everybody. It seems like it's harder.
It's like, if I could write a song for you, like we would really connect.
But then you like me. I think most artists, like, I think when I'm writing a song, it's like this internal process, and then I just sort of let it go. But there is a deep probably sense that I just wish sometimes that, you know, that people would be able to connect on it, and that, you know, maybe at a deeper sense, to be known to some degree. We probably all have that inside of us. And I think some of it comes from playing, you know, in Indiana. I just feel like sort of, if you're not playing the top country hits or oldies rock, you know, and sometimes I feel like it's been hard to connect with crowds sometimes, you know. I think over the years it's gotten way better because now people know my songs and they come, and it's understandable. But now it's a little different. But yeah, there is that deep sense of, okay, maybe, you know, I always thought about going to Nashville, but I really didn't love the scene in Nashville, and it just felt very commercial, and it just wasn't really something I connected with. And when I was younger, I probably had a bit of an angst towards it. And in my older years, and like the song Tennessee Whiskey, I'm kind of realizing that, you know, maybe I'm afraid to be successful, you know, and maybe I've really just distanced myself because, you know, it's hard for me to be vulnerable in that way in a commercial world, you know, or maybe I'm just not good at writing a song that other people like. Like, I just, you know, most of the songs that seems like that are kind of in the pop world, like, it's like I'm missing something. I don't know why anybody would like that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why you would like a song like that or like it that way. It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means I don't know how to connect with it. And so to some degree, Tennessee Whiskey was about this experience of me. A lot of songs are co-writes these days, and I had never really written with anybody else, and was a little unsure about that process. So I kind of felt like Tennessee Whiskey was a bit of a healing process for me to say, okay, I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to go to Nashville, a place that I've sort of avoided, or potentially the truer sense been a little scared of. And I'm going to go to Nashville, and I'm going to write some songs with some buddies of mine that are in the music world. And my buddy Lonnie is in the country world, and he's like literally has some #1 hits. I mean, he's a really great writer, and he's really good at the commercial music, and he has been awesome. I mean, I feel like he's my musical therapist to some degree, helping talking me through like that process of writing with other people and for other people. You know, he's been really great to talk to. And so for years, I was like, I'm going to come write a song with you, Lonnie. And I'd always it just never would happen. And then finally I went down there and we wrote a song together. And at some point I'm going to put out a record called Songs with My Friends. And so his song was really cool. We wrote a neat song. And then I wrote a song with my buddy Josh Frigo. And that one's really wild and really interesting. So I had this, you know, it was really hard for me to write with other people because it was like I had to come out of that place a little bit and be present with somebody else and their ideas, and so it was harder. But the funny thing is in the middle of the 2 songwriting sessions, after Josh's session that we had that day, I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I had this song in my head, and it was like super catchy, and like it was literally 3 a.m. and I had to go downstairs in the basement and very quietly write this song. So I started writing this song, and it's ironically about going to Nashville and trying to write songs with other people, you know, but it's kind of like I've gotten older, and, you know, I feel like I've been like on the cusp of doing some bigger things in the music world. You know, I've always been like kind of close, and I just maybe lost energy for it, or I just don't have the thing it takes to like tell people, you know what I mean? I just don't have that. I've just run out of energy. Yeah.
And also I get a sense too that there's I don't know if some fear of like, it would kind of mean you being away from your kids.
Oh, big time.
Too, right?
Yeah. That was a huge issue. Yeah. Yeah. I became a photographer. I was offered a couple pretty big guitar positions and I turned them down because it was like 200 and something dates. And that would have been a lot of traveling. And I mean, I just love my kids, and I've always wanted to be a dad, and that's always just been central focus. And we're so close. Our family's just so close. And, there was just no chance that I was not going to just be with them. You know, that was a big part of it. And there is a decent amount of fear of like, what if I would be successful? Okay. Like, I think there's a big part of me that's like really comfortable with being kind of like in a smaller situation. There's like no pressure there, you know. I almost don't want people to know sometimes, but.
Well, let's listen to Tennessee Whiskey by Cliff Ritchey.
Oh, but I'm getting old and I'm out of excuses. says the kids are all grown and it's time to move on. I'll grab my guitar and I'll swing for the fences. I'll drop my defenses and write you a song. If the song ain't no good, man, I'll gladly come home. Won't you pour me Tennessee whiskey? Pour me Tennessee pride. Pour me.
So your music could have pulled you around the country on different tours, but you kind of stayed in Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're a place that maybe you don't necessarily feel like you belong. Do you feel like that at all? Do you feel like in some ways you fit, in some ways you don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, family's important to me. My parents are here and my kids. So that was, a big part of it. But yeah, often, I live in Markleville, and, Friday nights they have like the auctions and it's a lot of cornfields and, I don't relate a whole lot to my, I enjoy the people, but I don't really relate. I like rock climbing and we ride mountain bikes.
Not great rock climbing in at least our part of Indiana. Maybe in southern Indiana there is. I don't know.
Yeah, not really southern Indiana. You have to go to Red River Gorge is the closest place really to climb. Great, ironically, really world-class climbing there. So that's like 4 hours away. So yeah, it's hard to do those things in Indiana. And it's also like, what do I talk about with guys my age here in Indiana? Like nobody rock climbs, I'm the oldest one in the gym for sure. Yeah. I've got a few guys. We got some trails here to ride. You can ride mountain bikes here in Indiana, but it's just very different kind of riding, So yeah, I've just always felt a little bit disconnected, which again, I'm kind of okay with that sometimes, because I live in my own world. But it's hard when you go other places and travel in Colombia, Patagonia, all the places that I've traveled, Turkey and Colorado, and I go do these things and then I kind of come back and, it's like, what am I doing here? Do I really belong here?
Yeah.
But
I, as a 20-year-old, I wanted out of the Midwest, right? I didn't want to leave. I always joke that like Indiana was a great place to leave, not to live. And, now we've kind of planted roots a little bit and I can't imagine living anywhere else. But there are, you just mentioned several of the anywhere else's that you've kind of thought about living. And, there's a longing in several of your songs about wanting to be somewhere different. Maybe that's in relationships, but this time you kind of mean it geographically as well. So, So I'm thinking about the song for Indiana, which is like so many of us in Indiana can understand. So kind of where did this song, set up the song a little bit, where did this song come from?
Yeah. It's funny. Actually, I think I was in Brown County when the idea came. And I think it was, we were hiking, my wife and I were hiking and I don't know, I was just missing friends that kind of, the story is like, kind of I've been here forever and I've got so many different iterations of friends, especially musicians or artists that kind of roll through and then they go other places, to do their craft, which is understandable. Like it's hard to be an artist in Indiana, or even musician. It's hard too, and a lot of them are in Chicago
I even had an editor tell me one time, like, Kelsey, you seem like you should move to New York City.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that, but
yeah, right. Exactly. But it's hard. It's hard to be an artist because it's just, there's not as many people that are into it or appreciate it as much, it's just, Indiana appreciates different things. And so I remember hiking and just thinking, what if I wrote a song in every state that I talked about, places that I'd been, that I'd wanted to be. And then I kind of wrote it for my friends who are living there and kind of a ploy to like convince them to come back, but no, really it was just to write, just to tell them that I miss them, and that, so I wrote, about my brother in Nashville. And it's funny, I started trying to think of all my friends in Nashville that have gone there. And I'm just like, wait, I can't name all of them because there's too many. Yeah. So I had to alter the verses. I started writing about each individual person. I was like, no, that's not going to work. So I wrote about my brother and my friends in Nashville and talk a little bit about that. And then talk about New York. My buddy Kenny Brown, he moved there, and that was hard. You know, he was really close, and he even lived with me for a little while. So yeah, kind of it. And then Michigan, I've got some really good friends in Michigan. I've thought about moving there, and like, it's always hard coming back from our little place there in Michigan where we go. And then of course, Colorado was a bit of the punchline, but
because you kind of even say it like kind of ironically, but like, but Boulder, Colorado, like that is one that's really like calling your name.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's funny. I do mention Boulder in the song. But it's funny. It's like, I was the one that people know about, but you know, like people don't know where Fruita is really. Or, you know, Nederland is really close to Boulder. That is actually kind of where I really connected with the people there. But yeah, Colorado is just like, it's been the hardest one to leave.
And so you've like really planted roots. I mean, in your home in Indiana, you built a little cabin out in like a pasture area. You've got chickens and gardens and all the herbs like right outside your door, like really settled in to that pace of life.
For sure.
But you really kind of need to update the song for Indiana, because you are in fact,
I know.
not going to be living here, right?
Yeah. A bit of the punchline of the song is, you know, it's always the very end of it, but my kids are in Indiana, so that's where I need to be. So it kind of talks a little bit about my dream of being out west and the people that I love out there and how connected I feel. But, you know, my kids are here, and I wouldn't leave them, you know?
Yeah.
But the story's changing a little now because my kids have grown up, and they are both moving to Colorado. In fact, the places that we would go. And so, yeah, as of this Saturday, I start making the drive out west with my wife, and she's got a job as a school counselor. And so, yeah, we will be living in Palisade, Colorado, which is on the western slope near Grand Junction. But the song's changed a little bit because now I sing it, and I'm, you know, it's Fruita, Colorado. It's, you know, my kids have moved to Colorado, and that's where we got to be. So it's kind of a sweet kind of, you know, transition, but I know there's some local folks here that don't love the new verse.
Me included. I haven't actually heard the new verse sung, and I'm not sure I want to hear it. I'll just remember the old one.
Yeah.
But I remember relating to it so much because I've, you know, if you've lived here long enough, you have seen people that have left for
totally
other places, whether it's for job opportunities. It's like the population of Indiana. I don't know if it's growing or declining, but I would guess it's probably not, at least not as growing as much as other places, right? Like it is.
Probably not as Colorado.
Yeah, people are leaving to go.
Colorado's just exploding.
Yeah, especially kind of the more rural communities too, right? Like too, people are kind of have to leave to pursue those opportunities. Right. So I think that's why this is one of the songs that really speaks to the heart of many of us who still live in Indiana, despite all of the beauty and wonder in other places. So let's listen to a little bit of Song for Indiana by Cliff Ritchey.
Oh, but Boulder, Colorado, you've been calling out my name. With an ache deep in your cavern, I've been feeling it just the same. And I'd like to float them rapids with the gang up in the springs, shout our praises to the mountain where the eagle and osprey sing. But I bid you my farewell, I'll be back again one day, with my backpack and my lover, maybe for a longer stay. Oh, me and Jules, we can make a living watching the glow of an aspen tree. Oh, Boulder, Colorado, you don't sound so bad to me. But my kids are in Indiana, it's where I need to be.
So I want to end our chat today with talking about some of the experiences that we had in Chile, specifically the Patagonia region.
Yeah.
And like I remember being on the bus ride and we went round a bend and then boom.
Glacier mountains. Yeah. Like humongous snow caps.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever been to a place like that?
No. Well, not exactly. You know, it's interesting. Turkey. When I was in Turkey, there were some pretty big mountain ranges in Turkey that were unexpected. I kind of always imagined Turkey being like, you know, a desert, you know, but there's some pretty big snow caps. And, you know, I'd been to Colorado. I'm trying to think of some other places that were, you know, have a little bit of the vibe. But what's unique about Patagonia is I think there are two huge mountain ranges with snow caps. And they kind of just go north and south like the entire way, I think. Like the entire bus ride, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was amazing.
There was all those blue, just crystal blue, very cold lakes. And then, it was just the entire ride was a picture.
There's on gravel roads that are sometimes shut down from landslides or trees or snow. And it is remote as, you know, it's the last place that humans actually like populated on our planet. And it still was very few people there.
Yeah.
I remember swimming in the lake and basically like drinking the water as you're swimming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did that. I did that. But like,
I did not. I would not have done that, Kelsey.
there's
had
like,
too much backcountry experience
there's
to try
like
that.
there's like no people
about
there. There's this ginormous lake. It's Lake General Carrera.
Yeah.
And there's no boats on the lake. You don't hear any people on the lake.
Right.
It was just like silence.
Yeah. It was untouched.
In the middle of the day.
You don't see that anywhere. I mean, unless if you got to hike a ways in the state parks, or, you know, you got to find places like that here. But there it was like, this is like the bus route. But what I was surprised, it was like weird that there's no houses. There's no houses like on a beautiful lake like that with the snow caps, you know, like here. Oh my gosh, that would be built up. It'd be a community of people and
a resort.
Yeah.
Right. Like, where's the snow skiing on this mountain? And that didn't exist. So it did seem somewhat untouched, even though the reality might not quite be that, because it was been burnt a lot by humans and grazed and stuff like that. But it seems untouched to the eye, and it feels like it. So we went to go visit a farm and see what that experience was like. And of course, once again, I am the oddball there, and Cliff just like connects with everyone like instantly. And then annoyingly, there's a guitar there that I didn't bring this time. And he's like jamming with people, and they think Cliff's the coolest person ever. And oh, by the way, who is this guy with you taking notes, right?
I don't think it was quite that way, but I did love
That's how it felt, Cliff.
Our Chilean friends. They were, oh man, that was definitely a place where as soon as we pulled up to the farm there, it was just like, oh, here's my people. I could live here. And even the smallness of that little town, and the dogs running wild, and the one pizza place, and you could get beer. And
you saw everybody there in the whole community that night at the pizza place.
Yeah, I could very easily live in that little town. I would love that.
Sounds like another verse in Song for Indiana.
Yeah,
I guess. So like you have that experience, you come back, like how do you like just this massiveness of the expanse and the massiveness of the solitude? Like how do you capture that in the song? Because I remember like we met for like a lunch one day, and then I drove home.
Yeah.
And before I got to work on my computer that afternoon, like you basically sent me the song about Patagonia. Like, what was that like? How do you encapsulate that? What were you trying to do in that song?
Yeah, I don't know. That one, I feel like it started coming on my way home, and I might even voice recorded a few things before I got home, and then it just was kind of coming. But yeah, Patagonia, first off, was like, that was like on my bucket list of like, if I could go somewhere, just places I dreamed of being able to go was always Patagonia. But it was like, how in the world am I going to get to Patagonia? First of all, not many people go. There's a climbing community there that does some climbing in Patagonia, but it's just not easy to get there. So being in the place that was like the place when people say, hey, if you go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Yeah. It was always Patagonia. Nice. I want to go to Patagonia. So that was part of it, is that it was just like this place that I dreamed of. I think maybe our conversation just kind of got me excited, and then all of a sudden the tune started coming. And again, that one's just a personal. It's just the song is literally it's our experience, kind of like, you know, talking the gaucho music the night when we got there, and we were in is it Quake?
Yeah,
Quake.
You probably pronounce it better than I pronounce it. Quake. Sounds good.
And then, you know, we went to that little restaurant and we had a beer, and those guys were singing the gaucho music, and there was just a vibe there that was like almost like this. It's hard to describe. It's like this. You couldn't. It was in a movie. It was like we were in this movie.
It's like a frontier town almost, a little bit. Yeah.
And it was just like untouched, and it was like just these beautiful Chilean people. And I remember going on that drive, we passed the Castillo mountain, and it's like Castle Mountains. And it's like there's this mountain range that they're very, very unique. They're very pointy, and like, you know, they look like a crown, you know, I do remember that. And just, so yeah, I don't know, the songs just started coming, and it was just, and then I think the bigger part of the song, probably the harder part, and I love to send stuff to you and get your thoughts on it too, especially these two songs. Kind of the bigger question is how do I write a song about a place, you know, and just like the kind of tying in a little bit of the environmental message, and like, you know, again, kind of pointing back to, I don't like to point my fingers, and I don't like to like tell people what to do. And so how do I write a bridge is really kind of what it comes about. Like, and honestly, and the only way I do it is I have to look at myself and say, okay, what part of the problem am I, you know? And so the biggest part of that, the song to me is the bridge, and it says, how do we preserve a place that draws you near? You know, how do we conserve, you know, the vast and rich frontier, you know? And like, so to me, it was like, well, the problem is I go to this place, it's beautiful. Now I want to go there a lot. I want to use its resources. I want to live there. And all the locals, of course, are like, we don't want you here. You know, like you can come for a short time, you know, and even just the impact. Well, if I get to go there, well, then somebody else gets to go there. And like, so that's a predicament. Like, how do we enjoy nature, and how do we enjoy these beautiful places without like taking too much?
Like our presence threatens that.
That's right.
Existence.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't appreciate it unless we're there, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this catch-22 a little bit that you're wrestling with in the song.
Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was, you know, I really wanted to deliver a message, but not be angry, you know, and not be judgmental. And again, it just doesn't seem to work. I'm always confused when, you know, people are so yelling and angry. I'm like, I just don't, there's never really been a time where someone's yelled at me and told me I'm a terrible person. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to change.
You're right.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I am a jerk. Yeah. I'm going to change that, you know? So to me, the way to kind of approach it, at least my, you know, the way I like to approach those kind of things is just to sort of give an example and use myself as the, you know, I have to be careful too. Like, what can I do, and how do I, and just the line was, well, let's let the rivers be our guide and the mountains whisper in our ear, you know? And again, that's kind of pointing back to the Arhuaco thing, is it's the listening, you know? And so I sort of did a little bit of a tip of hat to Miguel and the Mamu, and just saying, well, maybe it's just about sitting and reflecting and thinking, okay, where is my place and how much is too much? And kind of let the listener make that decision.
Yeah. So for this one, it's Cliff's newest song. So let's just listen to the whole thing.
All right.
This is Patagonia by Cliff Ritchey.
The mountains in Castillo were calling out my name as we headed to the bus stop with our backpacks in our hands. The gaucho music played like a soundtrack to our steps. Patagonia. A single road would take me to the place that I had dreamed, where the smiling face repeats like its lakes of emerald green, where the beauty takes your breath and the water numbs your feet. Patagonia. It's where time slows down, where the universe aligns, where the moon will kiss your head and the coyotes say goodnight, where the hand of the Lord touch everything inside, where the world feels right and Patagonia. There's something in the way the sunrise makes you cry. It's the white cap of the glacier contrasting with the sky. It's the end of the world, the last place touched by humankind. Patagonia. It's where time slows down, where the universe aligns, where the moon will kiss your head and the coyotes say goodnight, with the hand of the Lord has touched everything inside, where the world feels right and Patagonia. How do we preserve a place that draws you near? How can we hold on to its vast and rich frontier? May the rivers be our guide, the mountain whisper in our ear. Patagonia.
Well, Cliff, again, it's so cool to have you gone with me on these trips. And then now there's these songs that exist. So thank you so much for sharing your talent with me, with our community, and with our community of listeners here today. So thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Always a good time, man.
And enjoy Colorado.
You can come visit.
Thanks. Thank you again to Cliff Ritchey for joining me on today's show. You can listen to Cliff's music on iTunes and Spotify by searching for Cliff Ritchey. That's Ritchey. Learn more about his photography at cliffritchey.com. To listen to past episodes of this program, visit indianapublicradio.org/The Facing Project, or find us on your favorite podcasting app, or on YouTube, or on the NPR network, or just ask your smart speaker to play The Facing Project on NPR. To continue the conversation about this episode, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Facing Project. The Facing Project is recorded at Indiana Public Radio at Ball State University in beautiful and wonderful and evergreen and better than Colorado, Muncie, Indiana, and is produced by J.R. Jamison and the amazing audio engineer extraordinaire, Sean Ashcraft. The show is distributed nationally through PRX. I'm your host, Kelsey Timmerman, and until next time, I wish you the courage to share your own story and the empathy to listen to others.